Here's a song that will get your heart rate up. Every time I sing the word up, reach for the stars. Every time I sing the word down, touch the ground. The rest of the time, march with your knees high. Those magnificent men in their flying machines, they go up to the up, up, they go down to the down, down. They enchant all the ladies and see all the scenes with their up to the up, up, and their down to the down, down. Up and down, flying around.
Welcome to the Powell River Airport in Powell River, British Columbia, Canada, home of the Westview Flying Club, a few home-built experimental aircraft, aviators, and enthusiasts, including my own Sea Ray amphibious seaplane that I call the Spirit of Mackenzie. So please join me as I complete this saga, this 6+ years challenge of completing the build of this seaplane, getting it inspected and approved as airworthy, tested, and enjoy some general aviation in the Powell River vicinity. Well, this is going to be another one of these interesting and challenging days for a seaplane, that the landing gear be able to retract, or at least come up out of possible contact with the water upon landing, and of course be able to go down into position again when you want to land on a hard surface. This is achieved in the Sea Ray by having the main landing gear actuated by these electromechanical actuators, which are mounted in the bulkhead behind the pilot and co-pilot seat. You can see the actuator here and the linkage up to the leg which supports the main wheel on the starboard side here. And of course there's a profusion of electrical power and signals, limit switches to control the stop and start, the actuation of the actuator, electronic breakers, and of course control switches and lights for the whole system. So when it's finished, mounted in this hole will be the switch, which will drive the wheels up and down. Normally when the switch is in the up position for landing on water, then there will be two lights, one on the left side, one on the right side, which will be blue to indicate safe to land on water, or green, one on the right side, one on the left side, to indicate that it's safe to land on grass or the tarmac, or a hard surface at least. So what I'm going to do now is power up the system, activate the switch to the up position, and see if the landing gear comes up. Well, hello. Are you nervous? I'm nervous. My last episode, you may recall, I decided to try to get back one of my lost life skills, playing the bagpipes and Sammy the dog was a little bit distressed when I played the practice chanter. Well, she's not here today because I'm sure she'd be even more distressed as I look at reclaiming another lost life skill. Something I first learned when I was in university and then picked up again 20 years later to do a charity event in alignment with a mountain bike race. Anyway, I rode a unicycle. Haven't rode a unicycle now in 20 years, but I've got one. It's actually a pretty fancy high-tech unicycle. It's called a mountain unicycle. Great for riding around all the trails in the forest here with Sammy the dog. But, like I say, I haven't ridden one in 20 years, so I'm going to give it a try here. First off, put on the mandatory safety equipment with the appropriate warning hazard lights. It's starting to rain here now. Now, is that a good omen or a bad omen? Maybe it'll wash away the blood. Okay, let's give this a whirl. Okay, I swear, 20 years. Have not even stood up on this one yet. Oh, here we go. No, this is not cheating. This is an abundance of caution. Come on, baby. Come on, baby. Let's go. Okay, here we go. Here we go. This one's for the Gipper. Now, nothing to do with being an analogy for the test flight of the Spirit of Mackenzie. I hope. Yes, victory! Well, okay, here we go. Here we go, come on. Just not smooth as ground for doing this sort of thing yet. Whoa. I didn't pick the easiest place. I did not run. Okay. Obviously, a lot of things we learned here. Well, the Sky Boat Song on the bagpipe practice chanter went a little more successfully than that. But this project is 6 months long. 1 month down, 5 to go. And I am going to learn to ride the unicycle again. Mark my words. And the Spirit of Mackenzie will fly. With your support, your cooperation. Comments below, please. Okay, so here we go. Here's the plan for today. Since 2 days ago when I was last here, I've now elevated the tail. So all 3 landing gear wheels, the 2 main gear and the tail wheel, are all clear of the ground. So what I'm wanting to do now is to test the actuators, which will drive the movement of the main gear up and down, and the tail wheel forward out of the way and then back down for landing position. So this is the first time I've actually putting power onto the complete system, including the limit switches, the relays, the lights, and using the actual up-down switch. So cross my fingers, let's see how this goes. Talked about a lot of amps here. I think the breaker for this is 20 amps, so don't want to break anything. minor circuits first. Let's try the landing light. It works. Okay. Okay, enough messing around here. Let's try the landing gear. So I'm going to activate the switch up, and the landing gear should come up. And when it hits the limit switches, when it's fully up on both sides, and the tail wheel is up, it should stop. And also the lights, since I'm going up, the landing gear lights should turn to blue. The blue light should come on, indicating it's safe to land on water because the gear is up. Okay, first I'm going to push the breaker in for the circuit. Okay, gear, yeah, I know. Okay. That wasn't quite what I expected. You can see I've got the port landing gear came up, but it shouldn't come up because the switch is for the down position. The starboard gear didn't do anything, and the tail wheel gear didn't come up. So I'd say at this point, the starboard gear and the tail wheel are doing what they're supposed to do, which is nothing. Why this came up, I don't know. So, time to troubleshoot. But at least I didn't break anything. Hanger rash is when you get marks on your wings because you bang the plane into the hangar. I'm getting hanger rash on my head. Hey, did I show you the outcome of my second try on the unicycle? Yeah, almost a trip to emergency, but hey, a few butterfly bandages and a little bit of alcohol wipes, good as new. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I know the left and right main wheels are out of sync. One of them's got the leads backwards. But there's more than just the power leads. There's all sorts of micro switch leads, and I'm not going to start just changing them arbitrarily. I'm going to work through this logically. I know now the tail wheel does work, or should work, in conjunction with the left wheel. So what I've done now is I've put the switch over to up. The switch is now in the up position. I'm expecting what's going to happen. So when I energize the system, the right wheel is going to do the right thing, and it's going to come up. The left wheel and the tail wheel are going to do the wrong thing and go down. And they won't break anything. Let's just give that a try. Okay, first, turn the master switch on for power.
Generator.
Cancel the trouble announcement for generator.
Gear.
Cancel trouble announcement for gear. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to push in my breaker and see what happens here. Okay, so I got the left gear to go up and I go down. Unfortunately, backwards to when it's supposed to do, but the tail wheel went out, which means it and the left gear are in sync. The right gear is the one that's not working. Okay, so moving right along in my troubleshooting of what's going on with these up-down gear actuators, here's the relay circuit board and wiring that controls the actuation of the wheels up and down. This is the installation manual that came with it, and this here is the wiring harness wiring list, which I've primarily been following. In fact, when I installed this relay board and all these wires, I followed the labeling on the circuit board. There is some labeling down there. The labeling on the wires and the wire list. And now, getting into this and doing my troubleshooting, I've gone back to this installation manual and noticed right away in red it says disregard actual onboard silkscreen terminal labeling. So this labeling, silkscreened onto the circuit board, which I followed, is wrong. And in fact, if you look at the photograph or diagram they have here, which should be exactly the same as that, these labels are different. Okay, so that leads me to believe, number one, that some of these wires are not on the proper electrical connectors. Okay, good step. And then I also noticed on the manual that there's a need to have a jumper, this orange line, between two of the terminal points if you only have one breaker. I only have one breaker. So I should have installed a jumper between this point and this point. Okay, fine. So there's two things I can do. One, get the wiring on here lined up with the wiring in the manual, disregarding the labeling on there, and I can put that jumper in. Because this would tend to make sense, that there didn't seem to be any power on the right side wheel, and that jumper would jumper from the power, which goes into the left side, and would jumper over to here, presumably, and give power. Okay, so there's a couple of things to work on. Oh, the joy of having so much instructions and manuals and labels, and they're not in synchronization. Whose fault is that? Mine. It's always either the pilot in command or the builder in command. Okay, let's make those changes. These are the famous Powell River town site ferro cement hulks. These are concrete freighters from the World War II era, used as a breakwater for the pulp and paper log pond and to protect the barges inside. A bald eagle sitting on the aft end of the Peralta, guarding the entrance to the pulp and paper mill's log pond. As we're having a pleasant afternoon kayaking. I'm looking forward to being able to fly the Spirit of the Mackenzie in this area. Perhaps buzzing the concrete hulks, landing on the salt water. Over there, Savory Island, Harwood Island, and over to the west, Vancouver Island. A lot of time today checking everything through, from the battery to the master switch to the circuit breaker to the off-on switch, right back to the circuit board for the relays, and couldn't figure out why the power could get all the way back there but couldn't actually get to the actuators. So just because I thought it couldn't possibly be that the instructions in red font on the installation manual, which told me to ignore the labels on the circuit board, couldn't possibly be wrong, right? The way I had wrongly done it before couldn't possibly be right. Well, I'm building a plane. And this is exactly the sort of frustration that happens all so often. But we love it, don't we? Because when I went back to where the wiring was before, allegedly completely wrong per the new red font instructions, well, let's just see what happens. Okay. Batteries connected. Circuit breaker is in. So this is going to happen fast. I'm going to switch the master on, and the off-on switch is in the up position. Doesn't matter. That's another story. Okay, here we go. Master switch. Wheel should come up. And the tail wheel's coming up as well. And of course the generator and annunciator alarm is on. Okay. So, on the good, positive side, the whole system works. The actuators work. The power system works. It just doesn't work per the instructions. And you can't see it, but the little blue lights are on, the little LED lights are on, showing that the wheels are in such a position that it's safe to land on water. Excellent. Okay, so if I flip the switch the other way, the wheel should come down. Yes, the wheels come down. And the tail wheel went back, which is good. The only problem is the little blue lights. No, the little green lights, sorry. The little green lights didn't come on. The ones that indicate that it's safe to land on grass or tarmac, on hard surface. And that is because I have to adjust the little limit switches inside in the area of the actuators. So if I actually did it manually, the little green lights come on. Okay, so at the end of this little work party today, it's generally positive. The system works, just not exactly per the instructions, and I've got to adjust some limit switches. So I think that's enough for today. One of the keys to success, to any project, big or small, is to having a plan in place before you start any work. Now, for a smaller project, this doesn't have to be a written plan, but it certainly should be a well thought out plan in your mind that if asked by anybody, you could explain your plan without a lot of hesitation, humming and hawing, or needing time to fill in the details. But on a larger project, you're definitely going to have a formal plan written down, and this could be a binder 3 inches thick of what the plan is to execute the project to ensure your success. So what goes into a project plan? Well, the project plan covers some of the main elements, which the Project Management Institute would say adds up to about a dozen main aspects of any project. Now, it doesn't describe in detail everything you're going to do, but it lays out in these, say, 12 sections how you're going to deal with these different issues. So what are some of these key aspects that go into the plan? Well, you can start with the scope being all the work. There's the schedule, which is obvious. There's the cost, which is obvious. But you also got to cover things like your quality, your procurement, the risk, your communication, the shareholders. Anyway, there's about 12 different major topics you should cover in your plan, laying out how you're going to deal with each one of these issues. On a smaller project, your project plan could just consist of actually maybe half a dozen of these elements described in some detail. So that's what I'm going to be working on over the next couple of weeks. So in the next episode, I'm going to discuss with you those aspects of my plan which cover the scope, i.e. what exactly am I going to do, and probably just as important, what am I not going to do to get this plane built and flying, and my schedule. My schedule from the start, 6.5 years ago, in kind of cursory detail, but more recently over the last month and in the 5 months to come, the detail of how I'm going to execute all these different tasks that comprise the scope and get it all done in time. Looking forward to discussing my scope and schedule next time around with you. Welcome once again to Test Pilot Corner. I'm pleased to report to you that I did reach out to Chris Hadfield, Canada's preeminent astronaut and former International Space Station commander. Made him aware that he was the primary candidate to be the test pilot for Spirit of Mackenzie. I understand his busy schedule. He hasn't been able to get back to me yet, but I still have positive feelings about that. But in the meantime, I'm going to put forward a second candidate to you, Samantha, as her formal name is, and I put some thought into this. Samantha is actually from Slovakia. We found her in a refuge in Bratislava when we were living overseas a couple of years ago. And she's fluent, trilingual in Slovakian, English, and Spanish. She's equally adept at ignoring our commands in 3 languages. Meanwhile, the candidate, well, he's not a professional pilot. He's a private pilot, both helicopter and fixed wing, and his main profession has given him worldwide fame. But that's not what qualifies him as a test pilot. He's had decades of flying experience, and some of it has been very constructively negative. For instance, he's infamous for having had to put down on a golf course in his airplane because of an engine failure, and he was praised for his extreme ability to fly the plane to a safe but damaging landing without hurting anybody other than himself. But as they say, any landing that you can walk away from, and in this case, at least be taken away in a stretcher from, is a good landing. And you know, you only need one landing for every takeoff, so it's not really that hard. Yeah, for sure. So, anyway, the criteria for a test pilot is that they have to be very, very experienced in flying, such that it's second nature. So they don't have to worry about the flying aspect of what they're doing on those first few critical flights of an airplane. What they can concentrate on is the plane sound? Is the engine running properly? Are the flight instruments working? Are the landing gear going up and down the way they should? Basically, is the plane going to fly and not fall out of the air? And you can only do that if you have so much experience at flying that it is second nature. And this gentleman certainly has that flying experience, as I said, in all kinds of airplanes, and he's learned from a lot of relatively serious incidents that he's been involved in. So without further ado, I'd like to put forward my second candidate, who goes by a couple of alter egos names. But anyway, Harrison Ford, Han Solo, Indiana Jones. I'm pleased to make this offer to you to come up to Powell River in a couple of months. That would be, say, August, September of this year, to perform the necessary first flights of the Spirit of Mackenzie, to be the test pilot. So Harrison, please feel free, or have your people get a hold of me, and we can discuss your terms and conditions of your contract. Thank you. That's a wrap, man.
Up, down, they're frightfully keen, those magnificent men.